Louis increasingly lived her life through her son and was always his most loyal fan.
Louis always was at every broadcast. She used to sit about 2 rows from the front. And it was, to my mind, a very weird sort of relationship, mother-son relationship, because all his most salacious remarks or lines in the script would always be directed straight at his mother. She just lapped it all up and probably thought he's funnier than all the rest.
In the late 50s and early 60s, Williams was in big demand. As well as radio, his name topped the bill in a string of West End revues. Revue was an ideal vehicle for Kenneth's high-camp, quick-fire style, and he became a master at controlling an audience. The revue that launched him in 1957 was written by an unknown Cambridge undergraduate.
He was absolutely perfect for the part, was the first thing. It was a rather zany revue, centred actually on a character very like him, who had the same sort of quirky separateness from everything that was going on around him, a sort of someone who stood back and sent up and commented on. So I couldn't believe when I came to the first rehearsals that there was anyone who would say exactly what, I needed. And then, as a person, he was easily the funniest person I'd ever met at the time. I just was astonished.
Orange. Pink.
Maroon.
Gray. Violet.
Brown.
Blue. Orange. Green.
What a ridiculous colour for a suit.
Lettuce green, if you don't mind.
Kenneth was in the middle of it, like a sort of malevolent elf, and he wasn't like a real person, almost.
Oh, don't worry about them. They don't like my lettuce green suit, and they don't like the fact that I grew my own lettuce just from an ordinary packet of seeds.
He primped around, and his little bum stuck out, and I mean, it was weird. It was a weird experience. He was hysterically funny, but like something from another planet.
I told the producer, I said, oh no, I am an actor. She said, your secret is safe with me. Charming.
The sketch-based format of revue was a perfect opportunity for Williams to win extra laughs through his own inventiveness. He became a notorious ad-libber.
A 5-minute sketch could go on for 20 minutes, and he would beat the audience into submission. I mean, beyond it, so the audience began to shuffle uncomfortably because it became quite scary.
One day, he just rushed me into another room and he said, now look, you and I have got to remember that we're the ones who are going to go up there and take it. And, we've got to protect ourselves. He said, what we have to do with this piffle is ad-lib it and be prepared to improvise round it.
Outrageous was how critics described Williams in review, but the impulse behind his behaviour was very serious. He now topped the bill, his reputation was on the line, and he could not allow himself to fail.
I think his index of success was always the laugh, and even in circumstances where it was not appropriate to hear laughter, he was not averse to hearing it as long as he'd caused it. Certainly as long as it wasn't being caused at his expense. That was the worst thing.
As Fenella Fielding discovered when she put an end to one of Kenneth's tirades with a show-stopping ad-lib of her own.
The show in the evening went well, till Madam decided to ad-lib one line just before the tag in Spies. Of course, it threw me completely. This is the last straw. I've reported it to the office, and from now on I just behave with politeness. For the rest, she's had it.
Do you get on well together on stage, or do you find, Fenella, for example, that Kenneth makes things up as he goes along?
No. Well, he's got a very inventive mind.
Yes, but I'm always cooperative, very professional. Yeah, do you mind?
That line you put in.
No, the lines that you put in, if it comes to that, really.
Come, you two. No,
But Kenneth wasn't just unpredictable on stage, as the company understudy of 1 over the 8 was to discover.
I found him very intimidating at first sight. And because he was very mercurial and very waspish and very, very strong personality, and you had the feeling that he would reduce you to shreds with a look.
Film director Ken Loach was an aspiring young actor when he worked with Williams in 1961, and while the big star did extend the hand of friendship, his bonhomie could never be counted on.
We did establish some friendship. Based on the fact that I liked reading history books and he liked reading history books. So we used to talk about history quite a lot, and medieval history. He could be very nice, and then you'd start perhaps to start that conversation again in another situation, and he'd kind of cut you off at the knees. And so there was the kind of constant uncertainty about how you'd be received.
Williams' reviews were attracting some of the best writing talent around, including Harold Pinter, John Mortimer, and Cambridge Footlights star Peter Cook. Many of Cook's most famous sketches were originally written for Kenneth Williams to perform.
I've got a viper in this box, you know.
Really? Good gracious me.
Oh, yes, it's not an asp.
Oh, good.
Looks rather like one, but it's not one. Oh, no, I wouldn't have an asp.
No, I suppose not.
Some people can't tell the difference between a viper and an asp. More fool them, I say.
But ironically, it was Cook who killed off Kenneth's career in review when he began to perform the sketches himself.
My viper eats like a horse.
Like a horse, eh?
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, I'd like a horse.
By 1961, revue had a new look and a new breed of performers. Beyond the Fringe, starring Peter Cook and his Cambridge colleagues, opened in the West End and was considered so clever that nothing else could compete.
Beyond the Fringe, in a way, rubbished everything that had gone before. I mean, a lot was said in the papers about how effete the past review had been and how it wasn't relevant today. And in a way, it wasn't anymore. I mean, things change, things move on, and it was quite right that it should shift. And Kenneth certainly didn't think he fitted into that extraordinarily clever world. Although he was extraordinarily clever, ironically. He was extremely well read and extremely knowledgeable, but he hadn't been to university, and he felt, I think, like I did, very inferior to this new breed that suddenly swamped the theatre.
Williams' niche in the West End had collapsed, but work had started to come in from a very different direction. He'd been spotted in review by producer Peter Rogers and offered a role in a new comedy film. Without thinking too much about it, Williams took it.
So there we are, chaps. There's how we lay out our kit. One diagram among 24 people. Not very helpful.
Hello, Jim. Are you joining us? I thought you'd be in the cooler by now. All nice and individualistic.
I changed my mind. Sociologically, it's important for me to find out just how far one can retain one's individuality in the army.
Great Admiral here, Great Admiral here.
Williams' performances in the Carry On films would later overshadow all his other work. Over the next 20 years, he appeared in 22 of them, more than any other actor.
What happens if anything goes wrong?
We have to amputate your leg.
But his attitude to them was always ambivalent.
Your misreading of my potential is sublime in its totality.
Get him out of here, Wilkins!
Charming.
I think there was a great love-hate relationship there. I think in terms of what was good about it, they gave him security, which there's no doubt about that. The sort of regular films being made every year were bringing in regular money. And I think another plus was the fact that it was like an extended family. Some of the people on them he loved, some of the people on them he hated. But of course all of that makes life. The bad side of them was it was a lot of the sort of bums and tits jokes and sort of the very base humour that, again, Kenneth found very easy to do. But I think underneath all that, that wasn't the reason he became an actor. And I think there was a certain pull there.